Hey, my name's Carter, and this is How to Put Your Friends on Blender. So I work here at the workshop in the lower level of the Cabell Library. We're a free makerspace for VCU students and staff. We have a couple different studios that you're able to check out, also 3D printers, sewing machines, and countless other pieces of equipment. So today I booked out the XRAM studio, which is our advanced video studio. And I set up a bunch of flat white lighting and then also made sure to have a backlight behind Mike. Really just using as much light as possible in a bunch of different directions so we don't get any harsh lines. Alright, so once you're ready to shoot, just make sure that you get a couple different angles. Mike, we're going to get one lower shot and then one higher shot so that I can kind of play around with it in Blender and post. You also want to make sure that you take note of the focal length that your camera's at. You don't want to lose track of that because we need to match it up to our scene in Blender. And then Mike, when you're posing, I'm going to ask you to kind of like sway back and forth just a little bit, just to get like a natural groove to it. And then I'm just going to take that clip and reverse it. So all your movements are going to have to be like, be able to be played in reverse.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Like what stance could I even
You
do?
could go sideways, like kind of like a
sideways?
cross angle.
Can I do
yeah.
like this? Like is that what's up?
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Okay, so the first thing I do is go through all of my clips and then chop them down to this exact size that I'm looking for. Just make sure there's no camera movement or changes in lighting. Also, if you're going to use the same method as me, you want to make sure that the in frame is at a good position to be reversed backwards into the frame that you're going from. So, for example, here, Mike is kind of swaying back and forth. So I want to pick a point where he is at the peak of his swing. So right about there is the peak of his swing. Okay, so now in Blender, I'm going to click off the splash screen, and then we're going to go to the compositing tab. You're going to want to left click use nodes, and then we can delete this render layers node, and we're going to add in with Shift A movie clip node. Left click, and then I'm going to left click and drag this to the image under the composite. Now if we click open, we can drop in our clip. Now you'll notice that we can't see our clip. To fix this, we can click Shift A again, and then type in viewer. And then we're just going to drop this viewer node right below the compositing. Then if you hold down Shift and then right click and drag over this node that we've created, we can drag this node into the viewer node. So now everything that is run to our composite, which is what our final output video will look like, will also show up here in the viewer. If you want to navigate around this image, you can click V to zoom out, Alt V to zoom in, and then Alt and then middle mouse button to drag and move around. Next, we're going to add in a keying node. Click Shift A, type in keying, left click, and then drop it below this node line. Now go down to where it says key color, left click, click this eyedropper tool, and then pick the green that's in the background of your image. Now we can drag this keying node on top of this yellow connector. Now, to be honest with you, I just go in and move all of these sliders until it kind of fits in where it needs to. But I'll drop a resource in the description to tell you what all of these different things mean. Okay, so these are the final settings I ended up with, but I suggest that you work on your own. Now we're going to go into the movie clip editor by clicking this compositing menu right here and then going to movie clip editor. Now you're going to want to change this from tracking to mask. Select our clip and then click new mask. Now with control click, select all of the area that our subject is not in. If your subject moves a lot, or you have a spot that needs to be covered that also moves, you can keyframe each individual frame with a new mask. But since my subject is still, I don't have to worry about that. Once that's completed, we're going to go back to the editor type and change it back to compositor. Now back in the compositor, we're going to add in a mask node. Left click down here, and then drag this mask into the garbage mat. Click on this little mask icon, and then click our F mask. Now if you zoom out with V, you'll notice that our model is completely isolated. Now all we have to do is render this out. Go to the Output Properties tab, make sure the file format is FFmpeg video. In encoding, we're going to change this container to QuickTime and change the video codec to QuickTime Animation. Now you'll notice that we have this RGBA option. You're going to want to click that, and then going back down under the QuickTime Animation, change keyframe intervals to 1. Lastly, we want to make sure we have the perfect amount of frames. So scroll till your clip disappears, and then change the in frame to whatever that number is. Now all you have to do is set your output destination, and then click Render Animation. Once that's done rendering, save the file, and then go to File, New, and make a new video editing project. Once you do that, you should see a screen that looks something like this. Then we're just going to drag in our clip, and then line it up with the first frame. Now our clip is 149 frames, so I'm going to go down here to the in frame, left click, and then type in 149 times 2, and then click enter. So it just went ahead and did the math for me. Now click on the first clip, and then click Shift D to duplicate it, and then we're just going to drag that out all the way to the end. Now if you click on the second clip, and then go under Video, and then check Reverse Frames, you'll see we have a seamless loop video. Now I'm just going to set the output properties to match what we did last time, with a QuickTime container and a QuickTime animation codec, also remembering to change the keyframe interval to 1, and the color mode to RGBA. Now I'm going to set my file destination, click accept, and then go ahead and render the animation. Okay, now for the fun part. First, we're going to start by clearing out our entire project. So click A, and then X, and then enter. And now I'm going to bring in the scan that we made last week. Okay, so here's the scan on my Polycam account. I'm just going to click download, and then I'm going to use an FBX for this video. I'll include the link below to my scan if you'd like to use it, and I'll also try to include a download for the FBX for those of you who don't have the Polycam Pro version. Now back in Blender, I'm going to go File, Import, FBX, and then select the object that I just downloaded. Now I'm going to use S to scale it all the way up to about there. Looks good. And then just try to get it lined up to the scene. That looks pretty good to me. Let's check out and make sure the rendered materials are working. Yep, looks good. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and import the green screen footage that we just captured with images as planes. To do this, click Shift A, go to Image, and then Mesh Plane. Left click the clip that we just captured, and then for this video, I'm going to use a principled shader. I'm going to keep the render method as dithered. I'm going to leave on auto refresh, keep my alpha as straight, and then click Import Images as Planes. Okay, now that we've moved our video into Blender, you're just going to want to position it roughly where you think you want it in the scene. Make sure that you get the scale right, and also kind of play with the perspective of where your camera is going to be. Once you have a rough idea of where you want it, we're going to go ahead and add in a camera. So click Shift A, go to Camera, and then I'm going to move it back so that it's right in front of my subject. Okay, now I'm going to pull out another window by going to the top left, waiting for this crosshair, and then pulling to the right. And then while hovering over this window, I'm going to click 0 on my numpad. And then in output properties, I'm going to change this to 1080 by 1920. Then I'm going to zoom in so that this frame fills my screen. And then I'm going to click in, go to the View tab, And under view lock, change camera to view. And then you can click N again. Now, with the camera selected, I'm going to go down to the data properties and then change my focal length to 18 millimeters to match the camera that I shot it on. And then I'm also going to click the drop down under viewport display and change the passe part out? I don't know, whatever that thing's called, to 1. Now by scrolling up, I can zoom in and kind of get the angle right. Also, don't be afraid to rotate the image, or if you tab into edit mode and then click Control R, you can also add loop cuts that will shift the perspective of the subject. Just use these tools sparingly because it can really warp the perspective in a way that makes it look very unrealistic. Or dive head first and make something stylistic. Okay, now we can move on to lighting. First, hover over the right side, click Z, and then change to rendered view. And then under your world properties tab, go ahead and change the strength to 0. Now on the left side, I'm going to click Shift A and then bring in a spotlight and then position it so it focuses on my subject. I'm going to crank up the power to about 85, increase the radius a little bit so those shadows aren't so harsh. Decrease the size. And then also I'm going to want to go over to the render properties and check ray tracing. If you want to view this right side without all the lines in the way, you can drag this out so that we can see this show overlays button and then just left click that. Or the shortcut is Shift Alt Z. This lighting looks good to me. I think we can go ahead and move on to shading. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do now is go to change the editor type to shader editor and then left click on our green screen footage. I'm going to start by turning the roughness up to try to get it to match the background. And then I'm going to add in a new node with Shift A that is a hue, saturation, and value node. And just drop this up top here. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the background, making sure the scan is selected and then clicking Shift A, hue, saturation, value, and then just dropping that in between the base color. That looks good to me. And then I think I might also play with the light color a little bit. So I'm going to go down to Spotlight and then change this color to like a slight blue. Maybe turn up the brightness a little bit. Just make sure that every time you adjust one factor, you go in and balance it out with the other. A lot of this whole process is kind of pushing it in different directions and trying to make it match together. So it can take a while. Bro. Okay, so to jazz it up a little bit, I'm going to add some animations to the camera and to the lighting. To do this, I'm going to switch out of the shader editor type and go back to 3D viewport. Now I'm going to click this button to jump to endpoint, and then I'm going to select my camera and click I. And if we click N and go to item tab, you'll see that every keyframe has been set. Now I'm going to go to the last frame, which is 298, and click I again. And that'll set the same keyframes at the last frame. Now I'm gonna pick somewhere in the middle, let's say like 180, and I'm gonna pull the camera out, go a little bit, maybe up, and rotate it down some. And then clicking I again will set this keyframe. And then if you jump back to the endpoint, we can kind of see how this is moving. Not super extreme, but it'll add some visual interest. And then I'm also going to animate this light. Okay, and then once you have some animation that you like, we can go ahead and render out. Okay, finally it's time to render out. To do this, go to your render properties. Make sure that you check all the settings that you would like over here. I think I'm going to enable motion blur. Samples, let's go 200 sounds like a good number. Oh, and then make sure on volumes, change the resolution to 1:1 if you want it to be like nice looking. And then lastly, under color management, you can change this view transform to filmic log, and it'll give you the ability to use like LUTs and things, which is really helpful sometimes. But for this video, I think I'm gonna stick to just standard filmic with a high contrast look. But it's definitely worth looking into if you are having a hard time matching your subject to the background scene, or just want to do some extreme color grading. Okay, and then output settings, I'm going to keep the frame rate the same, frame range the same. I'm going to change my file format to FFmpeg video, keep the same color management. Encoding, we're going to go MP4, and output quality, perceptually lossless. These are all basically the same settings that I used on the spinning logo in the first video. And then set my output, and then we can go render animation. You're from Virginia Beach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bro.
How is it coming to Richmond?
Have
you been? Would you like come down here as a kid?
Nah, never. I actually only, before coming here, I went one time to go see my cousin graduate from VCU.
That was it?
Yes, and then I never been
So
back.
why VCU?
You know, like, I saw the buildings, and it reminded me of like games that I used to play.
Like what, GTA?
Like GTA, bro, like GTA 4,
Yeah.
and like Skate like 1. Skate 1.
I
like,
wasn't on then.
San Valona, Skate 1, bro. Or what is it? I don't know. I forgot what the city was called, but
you know what really sold me was I came up for orientation, and that was the first time I'd ever been to like Virginia, period.
Oh, really?
And I got here and I went through all the like school stuff. I was like, this is it's cool, but they got the kinetic imaging thing, like it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then they let us go explore.
No,
The
like,
graffiti, bro. It's
yeah,
everywhere.
bro.
It's everywhere.
That's pretty much like, that's what I'm saying though. When I got here and I really saw like all the writing on the wall, bro, I was like,
it was the writing on the wall.
Writing on the wall, bro,
Yeah.
literally.
No, absolutely.
Like, it was crazy.
It's something about a city for artists.
Yeah, right.
Just was so enticing.
It is an artistic city, bro.
So
I'll say that much. I'm not gonna lie. Like, being here, it makes me feel a little bit different than like if I was back home. You know, Virginia Beach got its artists and everything. It's a completely different vibe. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm trying to see what else I got in store. You know.
What else do you have in store?
I don't know, bro. I gotta find out.
What you been working on lately?
So recently, I just been working on like a few websites, trying to get my
Cause you're comp sci major.
Yeah, bro, I'm comp sci. Yeah, so you know, I'm working on a lot of websites, just doing some web development stuff. But besides that, bro, just my music for real.
Yeah.
And you know, my DJing and stuff like that. You know, trying to get my.
How's the Richmond
together.
DJ scene?
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I love everybody who I meet every time. I haven't met one bad person who's been like, oh my God, you're so lame and weird.
Insufferable.
Like, insufferable. Everybody's so nice all the time, bro. It's open. I mean, like, to call yourself a DJ and like you really just be hitting a few buttons, it's fire. Cause
Yeah.
that's all we do now. So I like how open it is, bro.
Do you DJ your own tracks?
Yeah, bro. Sometimes, yeah.
And just like sneak it in there.
I sneak it in there. I'm not gonna
What
lie.
type of stuff is it?
I'm not gonna lie. So it depends on where I'm at. It can be like some house stuff. Normally it's house, but I'll rock like some garage in there. I love garage. I sample a lot of old like drum tracks.
Ooh, like some jungle stuff?
Yeah, bro. Always some jungle stuff. You know, I'm a big
Classic.
fan of that ambient jungle kind of like
Me too.
vibe. You know.
Yo, when it comes blender time, jungle in
Throw
the
that on,
ears.
dude. You're good.
Couple
Yeah.
yerba mates,
Yo,
I'm getting it done.
exactly. But one thing, bro, like that I really that I've been enjoying more recently is like old dance hall, bro.
Ooh,
like, you know,
like what era?
Like, bro, like 90s dance
90s
hall.
dance hall?
Like I Wayne, bro, or you know, Vibes Cartel is just automatic.
I
But
don't know
you
them.
don't know Vibes Cartel?
Nah, I should though, I guess.
Man. You gotta check them out, bro, if you get a time. Like if you just I don't know, that type of music is so nostalgic to me, but it also makes me want to turn my brain off. Like my mom's Puerto Rican, bro.
Okay.
She used to be playing like all types of dance all the time. They
That's
like to
cool.
dance, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
You be dancing?
yeah, bro. You
Yeah.
already know. I get down, man. Like,
funny.
don't let me fool you.
That's cool. Yeah, I wouldn't have pegged you as a dancer.
Bro, I get down. Like,
Yeah.
it's serious.
You got some
I try to remain like a stoic demeanor, but I like to have fun.
But deep down,
bro.
he's really just a fun
I
guy.
like to have fun, bro. I'm just a funny guy. Like, I'm just a lighthearted
Nah,
dude.
it's so funny. Yeah, I think meeting you through the workshop was like an incredible just pull.
Yeah, bro. You're a cool dude, though. I'm not gonna lie.
thank
I'm
you.
glad that I could meet you, bro. Real
Yeah.
talk, because you know it's a certain type of people who I like to actually like talk to and conversate with, and you're definitely one of them.
It's smooth.
bro.
I feel like
So,
we have a lot of
yeah.
overlapping interests.
Definitely, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
But you come
Yeah.
from a very different perspective than me, which I appreciate.
Yeah, definitely, bro.
Yeah.
Same to you as well, though. You know what I'm saying? And I think we both appreciate art. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I'll say that much.
I feel like anybody who appreciates art, I can
get
have a
along with,
conversation.
bro. Yeah, I
Because
could
like we're on
definitely
the
get
same
along with it.
wavelength.
For sure,
kinda,
bro.
At the end of the day.
Like, you know, it's like appreciating art is so important to being alive as like a human, bro. I feel like that shit.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with a friend, and they said, you don't need art to survive. And I was like, I had a hard time sitting with that one because it's like I feel like I do, but I came around to the statement that, okay, fine, you don't need art to survive, but what's the point in surviving if there is no art?
That makes me think of would you rather would you rather be like deaf or blind?
Yeah, like why do I have to pick?
Like, why do I have to pick between being deaf or being blind? Both suck incredibly to me personally. Like, that's
to be honest
rough.
though,
Yeah.
blind.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I was saying blind too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the music.
Bro,
It's
yeah.
the music.
Well,
What
like
am I doing?
I could feel the tunes, but I don't know, bro. It's something about it. I can feel around stuff all I want. Like, I'll just feel walls until I get to where I'm going.
Yeah.
You know, but
And then
Bro,
my
having no music.
sense of hearing will elevate.
literally, bro.
I'm gonna start. Have you seen the dude who can do like echolocation and
Yeah,
ride the bike?
yeah,
that's gonna be me.
Yo, dude, I think honestly, if I train myself for like a month and some change, I could do it too. I think I could do it, bro.
That is an audacious take.
That's an audacious take, but I think I got it, bro. Like if I just
1 month?
shut out everything else.
Okay,
I
all
gotta
right.
quit
You
my
do
job.
that, and then you pull up and do the tutorial.
All right, I'm down, yo.
All right, season 2. Season 2, you're pulling up.
Season 2, bro, definitely. I got it, bro. Look, I gotta quit my job first, though. Anytime.
I'm already on that one.